always open with a Z on Twitter. He's the official wide receivers coach for Dez Bryant, Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, Chris Godwin, among others. D-Rob, how you doing? Thank you so much for giving us some time tonight. What's up, D-Rob?
Hey, man, what's going on, man? It's always a pleasure with my guys. I appreciate y'all for having me on.
Hey, we appreciate you. You are always welcome in the safe space, D-Rob. And how about this news we got today? You know we're a bunch of Dezbians here on the nosebleed seats. We love Dez. We're rooting for him. And some pretty exciting news about the Ravens bringing him back in. We know he had that workout earlier in August, but now it seems like there's some real traction that the Ravens are going to bring him in on the practice squad. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, they really liked the first workout that he had. When we left the workout, he got a lot of great feedback from John Harbaugh and staff, and they kept in close contact with him and just told him to hang tight, of course not to sign with anybody else. And in the meantime, it's been different teams throughout the process since the season started calling Dez, inquiring about him. But he's trusted the process and kept working out and was adamant about Baltimore was going to bring him in towards mid-season. And that's what they did. You know, they told him going close towards the bye week that they were going to bring him in. We've been knowing about this for quite some time now, for about 3 weeks. We just kept it up under our hat, but I'm just glad everybody knows now.
You know what's so great about this? The Ravens have always loved Dez. In fact, the Cowboys moved in front of the Ravens in the draft to steal Dez from the Ravens. And then when the Cowboys cut Dez, the first team to call him like days later were the Ravens with a $21 million contract. So they've always loved Dez. My question for you is, how do you think he's going to fit in with Lamar Jackson? Because we know his skill set. To me, he is a red zone mismatch. You just throw the ball up there, he's going to get you that touchdown. But I heard that Lamar Jackson isn't that accurate in the red zone. Tell me what you've heard and what you think might happen.
Well, yeah, you hit it right on the head. I believe that's what they're going to bring him in for, a red zone machine. They're also going to bring him in, you know, for a lot of third and short, third and medium type situations. To where you don't have to throw the ball perfectly. You know, you can throw it just anywhere in his vicinity, and, you know, he'll make the quarterback look good. That's what type of 50-50 jump ball he is, and that's how him and Romo made a living, you know, throughout his career, scoring 73 touchdown passes. So I think with Lamar, it's more, he'll be more confident, you know, just by seeing a target out there, a guy that has experience, and just putting it in his vicinity, and, you know, letting him go up and make a play. You know, it doesn't have to be pinpoint. It doesn't have to be accurate. So I think that's going to do a world of difference for his confidence, especially on those red zone targets.
Best wide receivers coach in the business, David Robinson, joining us here on 105 through the Fan. And D-Rob, you know, we saw Dez get the opportunity with New Orleans. Unfortunately, he had the injury. How has he evolved since we last saw him on the field for the Dallas Cowboys to what we hope to see him now with the Baltimore Ravens?
Well, he's a lot more explosive. His first 10 to 15 yards coming off of the football. You can tell that his burst is back. And his intermediate route running, you know, has gotten a lot better since he's been released from the Saints. You know, he's been doing a lot of one-on-ones with different defensive backs, and we've been working a lot on different releases along with the releases that he's been using throughout his career. But he just has so many different tools and tricks in his back pocket now. And I'm excited to see him put him to work against some of these DBs that he's going to go against. So I'm excited, man. And you're going to see, you know, the Dez Bryant of old, especially when he gets close towards the red zone, making contested catches, getting up, throwing up the X, talking a little smack. You know, that's what the Ravens need.
Oh, yeah, we can't wait to see it. Now, there will be some chatter about maybe some rust and a concern about, okay, Dez hasn't played in an actual NFL game in a couple of years. Do you think that's overblown, or will there inevitably be a little bit of an adjustment process for Dez trying to just get back in game shape? I'm sure he's in phenomenal shape right now, but, I mean, there is something to be said about being in football shape, right? Or do you think that's overblown as well?
No, you're definitely right. I believe it's going to take him probably a few weeks to get acclimated, you know, with the pads on. But he's been working out with pads on. You know, we've been going pretty much every week. He's been having shoulder pads and helmets on for this particular moment right here. Because, you know, once he got brought in, it was going to be in season, and it was going to be hitting the ground running. Now, I do think when it comes to catching a second wind, playing multiple snaps and things like that, I believe Baltimore would do a good job of monitoring his snaps until he gets acclimated, until they feel that he's ready to go all the way. But he's definitely in shape. Now, game shape, that's to be determined. So we'll see.
Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. That Baltimore Ravens defense is going to get him in shape in practice. I'm going to tell you that right now. They will be ready. And by the way, D-Rob, thanks again for joining us. The last time we had you on the show, that was the day that Patrick Mahomes was working out with Dez. You've been hooking up with some solid quarterbacks like Dez Bryant, Patrick Mahomes. There's some other guys that have been working out with Dez. Can you talk to us about how often Dez has been working out over the last calendar year, I guess, and some of the guys he's been catching the ball with? I know Zeke was out there with him one time as well.
Yeah. Shoot, Dez, we hit the ground running, man, about at least 3 to 4 times a week, you know, since he's been released over these past 2 years. So he's been grinding nonstop. And of course, I've been contacting a lot of quarterbacks to come out to evaluate him as well, to see how they feel with him as far as the timing when the ball comes out of their hand. So the quarterbacks that's been out there, Patrick Mahomes, of course, Dak Prescott, he's been out there throwing for us. Kyler Murray has been out there throwing. JT Barrett, you know, so we've been having some really good quarterbacks. One of my guys, Donovan, who plays at Texas Wesleyan, who does a good job playing quarterback as well. He's giving it a go this year for the NFL. He does a really good job spinning the ball. So when you got quarterbacks throwing you the ball, letting you know that the timing is good, when you're coming in and out of your breaks, and letting you know that's a good route and things like that, that's huge, because you and I know if the quarterback doesn't like your route running, they're not going to ask for you to be in the game.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. They got to trust you.
Mm-hmm. David Robinson, D-Rob with us here on 105.3 The Fan within the nosebleed seats. Now, this has been a busy couple of days. I guess you said you knew about the Dez stuff for a couple of weeks. You just kind of kept it under wraps. But another one of your guys, AB, Antonio Brown, has been circulating in the news. The Seattle Seahawks interested in him amongst other teams. Anything you can share with us about Antonio Brown and his potential return?
Yeah, you know, he's been talking to, of course, the Seahawks. He's been talking to the Seahawks. He told me the Texans has been reaching out to him. He had the Texans reach out to him. And I don't want to really say the other few teams' names, but it's one in particular team, and everybody already knows, which is the Seahawks, that he really hopes that he can land right there. He wants to go to a Super Bowl contending type team, and I don't blame him. You know, with his career, the stats, the numbers, and things like that, he's been around Big Ben his whole career. So I believe that he wants to go into another organization, you know, that has a strong stable at quarterback.
Back to Dez and the Ravens, the only big-name receiver to me they got left is Hollywood Brown. And I've been following Hollywood because I went to OU, so I'm a Boomer Sooner. And I know Kyler used to throw at him. Name some. How do you? We already talked about Dez in the red zone. Can you talk about how his game is going to fit in with some of those other wide receivers? And I know when he went down to the Saints, everybody was calling Dez the GOAT, and he was calling all the other guys baby goats, and they all got along. Can you tell us how he is in the locker room and how you think they're going to respond to him in that locker room?
Man, if you just ever get a chance to just be around him, you know, at the football field when he's working out with the other young receivers that's in the NFL, you can just feel his passion and you can just feel his energy. You know, he does a really good job of uplifting the young receivers, you know, giving them different nuggets and knowledge on how to get open versus a DB when they're playing you at a certain leverage, a certain way. So he's very experienced at that, and I think he'll be able to help Boykin, you know, Duvernay, Hollywood Brown, a lot of those guys, especially versus press coverage, because that's what Dez does a really good job of, getting off press, using his hands, being physical. So just being out there with the younger receivers, that's one thing that I can tell that he helps them a lot with, is different nuances on tricks of the trade on how to get open versus press coverage and using their hands and being physical and using their body.
D-Rob, speaking about, you know, younger receivers, it seemed like there used to be more of a challenge for rookies, especially translating into the NFL. And we used to think, all right, it's going to take some time, and maybe there'd be the second-year breakout or the third-year breakout. But in recent years, we've seen a lot of rookies. CeeDee Lamb this season with the Cowboys, Justin Jefferson last year with A.J. Brown. These rookies are coming into the NFL now, hitting the ground running, at the receiver position. Is there anything you could point to that as to why maybe that adjustment isn't as hard anymore at the receiver spot compared to in previous years and in previous decades of the NFL?
Well, when you come from college to the NFL as a rookie wide receiver, the only thing that you're really, especially the way the game is now, is picking up the terminology. Once you get the terminology down on how they call certain routes and certain plays, the way the game is played, it's easier for rookie receivers to transition because the NFL, like, you know, I know it's a copycat league, and they're taking a lot of Cliff Kingsbury's methods, a lot of the air raid system, throwing it a lot all over the yard like they do in college. So a lot of these receivers are coming from college-style systems where they're throwing it a lot, spacing and things like that. And when they get into the NFL, it's not a hard adjustment for them, you know. So I think that's why a lot of rookies have been successful coming into the NFL, because the NFL is taking some of the way the college game is played and putting it into their game.
You're exactly right. That's exactly what's going on. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I am going to put you on the spot. Right now in the NFL, who do you think is the best receiver? Is it DeAndre Hopkins? Is it Michael Thomas? Is it Julio Jones? Is it somebody? We know AB's, but AB's not playing right now. So who is right now, and you know, the season ain't over with yet, but who's on top of that game right now you feel is the best?
Oh, man, you had to do me like that, huh?
I do what y'all gonna do. Hey, safe space, D-Rob. You can speak freely. Yeah, you can always change your mind later.
Yeah. Well, if I had to, you know, if I had to name one off the top, of course, Julio, you know, Julio Jones, he's been doing it for quite some time and still doing it at a high level, even when they have another 1A type receiver over there in Calvin Ridley. So I would say Julio Jones, man. But, you know, from my stable, the guys that I work with, in my opinion, I mean, he's been doing it forever, and he's probably one of the most slept-on receivers in the NFL. And, of course, you know I'm going to say it, Emmanuel Sanders.
Oh, yeah.
He just, I mean, he's in year 11, 12, and he's still open. Like, you saw it last week, a few weeks ago, when the Saints played him, all he needs is targets and opportunity. He still has the juice, still has great routes, and he's consistent with his hands. So that's, you know, that's my guy.
He's low-key Larry Fitzgerald.
He's low-key Larry Fitzgerald, exactly. He just don't get all the hype that Larry Fitzgerald gets. No. And I want to come on the show and show him some love.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Anyone else you want to give some love to? You got anybody else cooking up there in the wide receiver factory that's going to be coming up?
Yeah, man. I want to give a shout out to Corey Coleman, man, former first-round pick. Yeah, he just got signed. He just got signed to the Giants yesterday, last night. So yeah, man, I'm proud of him, happy for him, man. Got him back in the league. So we'll see where it goes from there.
Well, you keep up the great work, man. We really appreciate you popping on. You my boy, you know how we do.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough, and I know everybody's going to be throwing up the X as soon as Dez gets back there on the field with the Ravens.
Exactly. I'm throwing it up right now.
There you go. You're the best, D-Rob. Thank you so much. We'll catch up with you again soon.
Okay. Appreciate you.
There he goes.